Despite a short reprieve yesterday afternoon, the Pollutant Standards Index soared to a new record high of 290 this hour. We're now well into the very unhealthy range and on the cusp of the hazardous category. This is the highest ever PSI recorded. The PSI last hit 226 in 2007.
This morning I went on a bike tour and it was a lot better. You could see a lot more, so it wasn't too bad. Still pretty hazy, but yeah, this is terrible. You can't even see the Ferris wheel.
I've been waiting since morning, thinking that it would clear so that I can come out, visit the places, but finally I had to call my hotel up. I need a mask to go out.
In an exclusive interview with Channel News Asia, Foreign Minister Shanmugam said that there is little Singapore can do about the haze on its own. He says there are, quote, limitations on international relationships and foreign policy, which gives neighbouring countries little control over the source of the haze problem in Indonesia.
Midweek, the Singapore skyline is hardly visible. Air quality has dropped yet again to multi-year lows. From a moderate 77 in the early morning, the Pollutant Index, or PSI, continued climbing through the day, reaching 172 at 3 p.m. The haze hasn't hit Singapore this hard since 1997. Singapore leaders are urging Indonesia to take action. But on the ground, some are asking why Singapore isn't doing more.
If it was within our control, we will never allow this to happen. The deep unhappiness of Singaporeans over what is happening is entirely understandable. And my own belief is that most Singaporeans also understand that Singapore is doing what it can, and that these are not being caused within Singapore.
In 2002, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations signed an agreement committing to tackle the haze. But 11 years on, the country at the center of it all, Indonesia, has yet to ratify the agreement.
The Indonesian parliament is sovereign in its own right. It makes up its own mind, and it has decided to so far not ratify the agreement. That shows the limitations in terms of what Singapore can do. But we will continue to express our views. We will continue to do whatever is possible and within our means and sensible to do.
This means continuing to put pressure on Indonesia at international forums. But with the haze returning every year, has ASEAN failed?
I think the word failed is too strong. But you got to understand the role of international organizations like ASEAN. They cannot override national sovereignty. But we can try and use moral suasion. We can try and agree on common principles. And really we are dependent on each country carrying out those actions.
Talk aside, Malaysia and Singapore have also offered to help Indonesia tackle the forest fires in Sumatra.
Indonesia's Foreign Minister Marty Natalegawa says action will be taken against those who contribute to the haze problem.
Those who are held accountable, if there are any companies, national or foreign, who have been involved in any slash and burning activities, then they must be held to account. And such a wish is not only the wish of our neighbors, it is above all our wish for that to happen.
His news conference comes as a report in Malaysian media says there are 4 times as many hotspots on Sumatra from a week ago. Dr. Natalegawa also says that Jakarta continues to tackle the forest fire problem despite it not having ratified the agreement on transboundary haze pollution.
With or without a ratification, we have been, as a matter of fact, essentially in full compliance with what is required and expected of the transboundary haze pollution agreement. So the fact that we have not ratified it, have not created like a legal lacune or some kind of bottleneck. On the contrary, as a matter of state practice, countries in ASEAN have been working hand in hand in addressing the forest fire.
Well, the The PSI is what we're used to reading to gauge the haze situation. Experts say it's also important to look at another indicator on the NEA website, the PM2.5 concentration reading, which measures smaller particles. At 4 p.m., it ranged between 112 and 143 micrograms per meter cube. A healthy level reading is below 40. NEA says those with heart or lung disease and children, as well as older adults, should avoid outdoor physical activity.
PM2.5 is basically a better measurement of smaller particles. Basically, particles are more finer, so these particles tend to penetrate into our respiratory tract deeper, and they can also embed in our lungs. So it's also equally essential to know this PM2.5 value.